There's a lie in the military never tells you about officers versus enlisted. It's not about pay, rank, or intelligence. It's about how your life turns out after 10, 20 years and after you leave. I watched officers regret their decisions. I watched enlisted retire free. And most people choose their path for the wrong reason. I did over 20 years in the military. I've lived overseas for about 15 of them. I've worked with both sides. This isn't hate, this is pattern recognition. The lie. Officer is always better than enlisted. The truth. Um, being an officer doesn't mean that they're smarter. Being an officer doesn't necessarily mean you have more autonomy or freedom in the military. And being an officer does not mean that you have a better post military outcome or a better post military life automatically. Not so. Here's what recruiters don't tell you. Okay. Officers trade time plus politics for status. So, as an officer, there is a lot of bureaucracy that you have to put up with, also red tape, and you have to play the game even harder. You have to rub elbows with the right people. Enlisted trade rank ceiling for flexibility. Most people don't understand age timing, family impact, burnout curves, retirement math. Rank doesn't decide your life, decisions do. Say it again. Rank does not decide your life, decisions do. Officer pay looks better on paper, guys. It really does. Enlisted often invest earlier, deploy more, gain technical skills, transition faster. Income is loud, wealth is quiet. Um, the authority myth. Officers command on paper, enlisted run reality. And that straight up is a fact. Why is that? Well, officers operate from the strategic level, whereas your enlisted, they operate from the tactical level. So if I were to put that in layman's terms, basically, officers would be like your senior leadership or um, your vice presidents, CEOs, the upper level management, but your enlisted are the people on the ground that actually do the work. So you can have a CEO or a manager that comes up with the overall vision, but then you have to have your mid-level managers. You have to have everyone from mid-level all the way down to your lowest employee that actually do the work. And without them, the mission or the job does not get accomplished. Now, it does not mean that you do not need your strategic level because your strategic level operators or your officers or on the civilian side, your senior leadership and managers, they do come up with the vision and the strategy and the plan. And then what happens is that you're enlisted or you can say for the civilian side, your mid-level leadership on down, they carry it out. So you need both, but often, many times, I'll give you one a good example of officers commanding on paper. You can take a snotty nose lieutenant, say the grade for there may be people in here that may not understand military grade rank and structure. So I'll just give you the grade versus the rank. Um, and when I say a lieutenant, I'm talking about the grades of O1 and say O2, first and second lieutenant, and that would apply for um, and Air Force, Army, and Marines. With the Navy and Coast Guard, I think they call it an ensign. Okay, so I'll share the grades, but those are your new officers. They just put on their bars, just probably came, graduated from the academy, came out of school, and they don't have a lot of experience. But on paper, because they're an officer, I guess you could say maybe they're a junior officer. I forgot what you call them, because you have different grades of officer. I think you got junior, company grade, and then you have senior. You see what I'm saying? At the highest level. So your junior officer, Snotty Nose Lieutenant or Ensign, or O1 or O2, they're basically equivalent of an E1. It's just that they have bars on their shoulders and they get paid more. So they don't have a lot of experience, and they need the enlisted to teach them the job. And they have to grow in leadership responsibility, and they grow over time. And so they need the enlisted, so to speak, to kind of hold them by the hand and to direct them, even though they may call them sir or ma'am. But O1 or O2 doesn't really have any power. They really don't. And even um, within the military structure, O1s or O2, when it comes to administering, say, discipline or punishment, there's a lot that they really O1 or O2 can. The O1 or O2 really can't, doesn't have the power to destroy, so to speak, your career. They don't have a lot of power. They're new jacks. They're newbies. You know, they'd be the equivalent of what was it in the Air Force? You call them an airman basic, or maybe what is it, an airman? So airman basic with no stripes. Airman has one stripe. It'd be the same. With the Marines, Army, all of them. You see what I'm saying? Every branch of service has the same um, grade structure. E1 is an E1, regardless whether it's Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines, whatever. What I'm saying? Same for reserves and National Guard. So I just thought that way you guys can understand. But they need the enlisted to teach them and to lead them. And so many times you will have an O1 or an O2 officer probably paired up with probably anywhere from probably an E7, probably pair them up with an E7. Sometimes the E8 or E9, they kind of, you know, teaching the new jack, officer the ropes. So on paper, they command only because of their grade and rank, but they don't really have any power yet. And they don't have any experience. They're basically trying to cut their teeth and trying to make their bones. Okay. Enlisted, they run on reality, because from day one, enlisted, they do the actual job. They are the ones that go in there, and if the from the strategic level, if the officers lay out the plan, for say your logistics, your bombs, bullets, the strategy of how the battle is going to be fought, the enlisted are the ones that's actually on the ground carrying it out. So, which one is going to have be more of the expertise, on the actual job? It's going to be the one that's hands on doing it, day in and day out. And like I said, I didn't say that strategic leadership has a totally different role. So they see things from a totally different angle. So both are experts on what they do. They just play different roles. You're enlisted, functioning from a tactical level. They don't always see the overall big picture. The strategic level is the overall big picture of the mission. And enlisted, that's not their function. So they're not tasked to do that. Now, your E8s and your E9s that are enlisted, they see the overall big picture, because they work side by side with your senior officer leadership. And they are a part of the strategic overall planning. So they get to see it. But as far as like a lot of your enlisted, they're functioning in their particular role, and they are experts at what they do. Both are experts at what they do. They have different roles, but together they get the mission accomplished, or you can say get the job done. Okay. Now, um, both sides have their stressors. Stress difference. Officers equals responsibility pressure, Enlisted equals task pressure. Okay. Neither is better, but they cost different things. And let me say this with officers, they make more money, but there is responsibility that comes with it. If an officer gives a command or decision or they sign off and give the go ahead on something, they better be sure that they can trust their subordinates, whether they're other officers beneath them or whether they're enlisted. It has to be somebody they trust, because if it goes wrong, even though that officer may not have anything tactically to do with it, if it goes wrong, that officer is going to bear the brunt and the weight of that decision. You know how they say the SHI bleep, how it rolls downhill. It rolls downhill, but the one at the top, when it goes bad, if somebody at the bottom or in the middle messes up because they gave the go ahead, they overall bear the weight of that responsibility. Even the Bible says that to whom much is given, much will be required. So if you have a lot, then you are expected to do a lot and to give a lot with it. A lot will be expected. Enlisted, they bear the burden of task pressure. Get it done. Timelines, suspense dates, fixing and adapting to different types of challenges and problems in order to make that military machine boots on the ground go. And it's the same in any other organ, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Target, whether it's Bank of America. It's you have your chiefs and you have your Indians in any organization or any system. Okay, and so in order for it to effectively run, you have to have both, but both have their different price that they must pay. Now, the real divider, okay, it's not officer versus enlisted. It's informed versus uninformed, strategic versus emotional, long term versus short term thinking. Okay. Now, who should go officer? Okay. Um, older recruits, individuals that are already educated, long term leadership ambition, comfortable with politics. Now, why would I say older recruits? The reason being is because older recruits, when they're older and going into the military, they've already lived life on the outside. They have more life experience. And generally speaking, they're not new to the game of life. And sometimes maybe older or more mature individuals might be a bit better balanced. And then on top of that, older recruits, because it takes time to complete a degree or get an education. It does, and also maybe because of them being a bit more mature, they may be able to handle responsibility better and may be able to deal um, with the tasks that are put on them and following leadership. They may be, I'm not saying it's always the case, but it's a matter of maturity. Sometimes when people are young and they need time to grow and develop, and just because a person has tremendous potential, it does not mean that they are immediately ready for future responsibility and future trust. They may not be ready or mature enough to handle that yet. So they need time to develop. They need time to be nurtured so that they can grow properly. Then they can handle different levels of responsibility and authority. I mean, it's just common sense. You don't give an E1 the same responsibility and power as an E5. They're new. They're not ready yet, and they have to learn, and they don't have the rank and the grade anyway, and they haven't in succession been in long enough to earn that rank and grade. A E1, what is the E1 going to know? They don't know. They're new to the military. They don't know anything. They don't know the job, so they don't have the work experience, and they're not ready to lead. You can't have an E1 do what a E9 or an E8 does. Are you freaking kidding me? They're not ready. The same thing. You can't take a O1 on the officer side or an O2 and then put them up there with a do the job of, say, what a O5 or O6 or what a O4 does. And they're not ready. That's a whole lot of power and pressure and responsibility, and it takes time to grow, and also it takes maturity. You can't expect a person that works in a warehouse to do the job of Jeff Bezos. It's not going to happen. You can't take an individual um, that works under Elon Musk, but you expect him to go and create and make designs and SpaceX and all that. Number one, that individual may not have Elon Musk's IQ. He may not have Elon Musk abilities, and then on top of that, he's not he or she. Sorry about that, ladies. He or she is not seasoned enough to handle that level of responsibility. So that is the reason why um, I say that. Older recruits, those that are already educated, and those that have long term leadership ambition. And long term leadership ambition, guys, you're talking about a commitment. And if you desire long term leadership ambition, you're talking about you trying to get to the highest levels, whether you on the enlisted side or the officer side. For the enlisted side, the highest level that you can go is an E9. Okay. And also an E9 of your particular military branch. That is the highest level that you can go. On the officer side, the highest level that an O1 can go to is I think it's an O5. It is an O5 or maybe is it an O5? Is it an O5 or O? I gotta check. No, no, no. Is it an O8? I gotta check my rank, but this one I'll just say the highest they can go is probably like an rear admiral, excuse me, whatever, Coast Guard, Navy, and probably like maybe a 4-star or 5-star general doing war. That is the highest level that an ensign or a lieutenant can go to. So if you're talking long term ambition, that's pretty much what you're looking at. And the military in is going to require you have to be seriously committed. If you want leadership, in the military and even out of it, you have to buy in and you must be sold in. You have to be sold in, and it is going to cost you a bit of your life in order to get that. You got to be 10 toes down. You can't just want to be um, just good. Good for that. That ain't good enough. You know what I'm saying? Sold out is what it's going to take. You got to be sold out. Also, you must be comfortable with politics. Got to play the game. So if you are not comfortable with politics and you one of those, you're like, hey, I'm a straight shooter. I don't feel like playing a game. Then in the military, you will only go so far. And when I say that, I'm talking about for enlisted, I'm talking about grades E8, E9. And on those for the officer side, I'm talking about the grades of, um, general, admiral, all the way up to rear admiral, and say 4-star and 5-star general. But to make those levels, what I'm saying, even if you're gonna make, saying a colonel or what I'm saying, like, stuff like that, you got to play the game. At that level, you don't make it without endorsements. You don't make it to those levels without endorsements, enlisted and officer side, and you don't make it without playing politics. You got to be in the right circles. You have to have the right jobs, the right positions. You have to lead, the right organizations. And you have to work with, what I'm saying, leadership above you. You got to work with peers laterally. And you have to be able to lead those beneath you. So military leadership is going to require you to lead from the front, and you got to play the game. So if you don't want to play the game, probably you probably might be looking at maybe mid-level leadership with both, but off the officer side is even more strict, stringent with it. The officer side, you really got to politic. You have to go to functions that you don't feel like going to, being bothered with people and personalities that you don't care for, and that's on the enlisted side also. But the officer side is even worse, guys. It's even worse. Now, who should go enlisted? Younger recruits, skill focused, want geographic flexibility, want options outside the military later. Okay, younger recruits. Okay, these are individuals they young, new, coming out of high school, whatever like that. May not be sure of what they want to do, and they youth, they young. You know what I'm saying? And even if they decide that hey, there's certain jobs that they want to get, they're still young, need time to grow. They need to learn. You know what I'm saying? New skills, discipline, and on the enlisted side there is more geographic location flexibility. You do have more locations that you can go to. The officer corps in every branch of service is only so big. There is more enlisted than there are officers, and officers um, have less assignment choice. They have choice and assignment, but they don't have as many options as the enlisted does. Okay. Now, as for your options outside the military later, yeah. Um, Once you become a civilian as an officer or enlisted, you can always get re-educated, or you can always learn new skills and switch over to something else. But the officer corps definitely will kind of tie you up with the military heavily, and then also officers can retire later than enlisted. So that age, by the time you get out the military, you may go in young and say you come out, what I'm saying, older. Enlisted, if they make E9, probably the longest they can stay in is like about, I think, 20, 28, maybe 30 years. If they make E9 of their branch of service, then they probably can do 31. Okay. But your officers, depending on how far they progress in rank, if they go up further enough, they could be in the military like freaking 40 years. And so you're not the same individual when you're coming out, what I'm saying, that many years later, coming out like what, in your 50s or 60s to the job market. That age difference, they're not supposed to discriminate, but it does play a role. And for officers operating from the strategic side, for them, in a sense, um, it can limit their options because of where they've been operating from. Most of your officers coming out, they automatically are looking to transition into automatic higher level management positions automatically. You know, so it's something to consider. Before you go into the military, if you can deal with the politics, man, and that doesn't bother you, then I would definitely say, like I said, you want to get your paper up faster. I would definitely consider um going in as an officer because they do get paid. But to everything, there is a flip side. As an officer, in some cases, you may have, in some cases, you get maybe say more power and prestige in one way, but you may lose flexibility in another way. You see what I'm saying? And you got, like I said, you got to, in the officer side, you got to play the game. And on the enlisted side, you have to keep your records good and keep your nose clean. The officer side, that goes double. You got to keep it clean on the officer side. You do. An officer cannot get so much as for them a letter of reprimand. That right there can kill their career if they get a letter of reprimand. Whereas on the enlisted side, a LOR or a letter of reprimand, that's no big deal. It's like, all right, say, yeah, okay, you wrote me up. All right, you gave me a good talking to. I got counseled. All right. But for an officer, man, that's like a death nail. You know, that man, oh man, it's like a nail in the coffin on your career. So it's just something to consider. But do the officers make money and get paid? You betcha. Yes, they do. And their retirements, are bigger and fatter. you know but I mean, I believe the military is a good choice. I believe it may not be for everybody, but it's for some people. you know but What do you guys think? Officer or enlisted, you know, what would you choose? And also for those, if you've ever been in, what didn't the recruiter tell you? you know and for those that have been in and now are out, or even those that are in, if you could do it all over again, would you switch? Would you switch? And guys, that's all I have on this one, but just something to consider and ponder. And the name of this channel is Snacks123 on Rumble. SNAKZ123 on Rumble. And so please join me and follow me on Rumble. um Hit the like or unlike button to like the live and videos. Leave a comment. Love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. Leave me a comment. And also, please share it and push it out, guys. Push it out. Also, I have a YouTube channel. Eric Broadus YouTube, EricBroadus, YouTube, or EricBroadusYouTube.com. So smash that bell to become a subscriber. Turn on all notifications. Hit the hype button, guys. Get me out there. Come on. Hit the hype button. Hit the like or unlike button, like the videos, leave a comment. What say you? You know, what say you? Also, I have my Snacks Thoughts podcast. SNAKZTHOUGHTS. Snacks Thoughts. Podcast can be found on Spotify, Spreaker, Anchor, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio PBM, SoundCloud, and a host of social media outlets. And also, I have the 5 best weight loss products. And so the link will be in the description. Click on the link to check out the products. And I recommend, especially if you want to lean out and take care of your health, guys. You know, I recommend it. What I'm saying, get the products and share the link with somebody else so that they also can purchase the products and take care of their health. Next to God, the next best thing that you have is your health, guys, and your health is your wealth. Without it, you can't do anything, guys, and you will not have a good quality of life. So take care of it. But that's all I have on this one, guys. But share it. Snacks123 on Rumble. Eric Broadus YouTube on YouTube. My podcast, Snack Starts, and the 5 best weight loss solutions. And thank you guys. Thank you, for giving me a reason to come on these platforms and share information. I appreciate all you guys on Rumble and YouTube. All right. Peace out, guys. And I'll be coming through with some more content. All right. You know. And if you guys have any suggestions on future content that you would like to hear and see, um, drop it in the comments section. Something we could talk about. All right, guys. Peace out. Catch you on the next one later.